James Pearce reporting. Well, we can talk now to Adrian Huston, who's a former tax inspector with HMRC. He joins us in our Belfast studio. Thank you very much for joining us. As we were hearing there, 5 years of investigating, £8 million it's all cost. Was that a waste of time and money?
No, I don't think so. Obviously, you could argue that this was a bit of a dog's dinner with HMRC losing this case. This particular prosecution didn't cost £8 million. That's the overall case. But certainly it's embarrassing for HMRC to have this happen. But this case did have all the indicators of a good prosecution which was likely to succeed.
The argument that Harry Redknapp presented in court was that he'd paid so many millions of pounds in tax over the years. Why would he have tried to dodge tax through on such a relatively small amount, through such a complicated mechanism? That they never really came back with an answer on that one.
Well, no, they didn't, and indeed the stories that were told about the source of these lodgements to the Monaco bank account varied all the time. However, I used to be a tax inspector, and I remember in many a case, someone who was declaring an awful lot of income could still get caught for one or two small isolated pieces of greed where they put some money in the back pocket or into an account they weren't telling anybody about. Just because someone pays a lot of tax does not mean they won't succumb to temptation from time to time. And we did in this case have a man that HMRC saw had flown to Monaco and opened the bank account in a false name, that of his dog. And there's rarely an innocent explanation for doing that sort of thing.
But obviously in this case, he has been completely cleared. I mean, there's been lots of people commenting on it today. Lord Sugar saying he believes if there was an ordinary person at the heart of a case like this, it would have never ended up in court. He reckons it was an attempt by the authorities to make an example of a high-profile personality, which has backfired. Does the Revenue see high-profile personalities in a different light compared to ordinary people when they're looking at a case?
Well, I think they have to be very careful with these cases because they're aware that because it's a high-profile individual they're dealing with, if they lose the case, they may have cost the person their reputation, and of course they've damaged HMRC's reputation. Having said that, HMRC would see it as very important to have tax investigations and prosecutions which publicly show that the big fish get caught as well. And as I said, this case is one where there were various factors which pointed to this being a good prosecution. He had in a previous tax investigation failed to declare this money, and most prosecutions happen not because someone has fiddled their taxes, but because in an earlier investigation they have continued to hide things, and that's generally the aggravating factor that causes them to end up in court.
Adrian Huston, thank you very much for joining us.